overall.
Hearthstats Champions League Season 1, Round of 8, Alchemixt versus Phonetap.
Okay, so it's going to be the Warrior for Alchemist, and you see Alexstrasza in the hand is definitely not a card you want, but that Fire Warwick's, and actually that Unstable Ghoul as well, that's a card which has been rotated out of a lot of Warrior decks, but I guess it's a pretty good anti-aggro card.
Oh yeah, certainly. That's the card that works versus many aggro decks and creates weird board positions. If you have Acolytes of Pain, you clear, you prepare cards for execute, and you can draw cards as well. It's interesting that he's running both Whirlwind and Unstable Ghoul, so this is super anti-aggro. But probably, well, I'm both thinking like if he expects Hunter, but then he was the one banning the Hunter on his side. What do you think about this matchup overall, Warrior versus Mage?
I think it's very dependent, and this early Unstable Ghoul is going to be really important, I think, because it's going to stop the damage coming in early and allow Alchemist to get a pretty early armor lead if he's able to get things, particularly if he's able to pick up a shield block. If the Warrior can just develop armor and get out of range, so the Mage will run out of damage and just run out of steam very early when the Warrior still has quite high effective life, that's definitely what's going to make the difference. So the shield blocks coming in early, the Shield Maidens, if he was able to pick one of those up before turn 6, those are the cards that really could dictate the matchup outside of things like Fire Warx.
I definitely agree. Like this matchup is all about moves and replies to them. So Mage will try to set up a threat on the board, and if Warrior cannot respond to that, he will be in trouble. He will consistently lose health and get in range of the fireballs. So mostly, like Snow Chugger, again, a very important card that if it's being played on a key moment, it can shut down Warrior and shut down the weapons. A good call from Phonetap, by the way, to play a 3/4. There is not an easy way to remove that, and Alchemist will have to take some damage here, maybe even like use the Ghoul.
Yeah, he's gonna. Yeah, he's just gonna set it up so that the Spider Tank trades with the Ghoul and give it over to Phonetap to have to make that trade. But there is and yeah, there's even the Frostbolt in hand of Phonetap doesn't help him because the Spider Tank would just die anyway.
Yeah, that's a good call. It's like instead of just killing the free 1 with the Unstable Ghoul and losing 1 point of damage, he went for face, because in Mage usually there is nothing to heal that, and the Unstable Ghoul would die anyway.
Well, the
and no silence as well.
Yeah, Death Spike comes in hand as well. He's not going to play. Well, he's not going to be able to swing it next turn. Gets a cool Taskmaster, and the final swing is Fire Warx, crucially clearing out everything that Phonetap's put on the board so far without taking too much damage. And again, that is absolutely crucial to this game, like you said. Actions and replies. If the Warrior can get the early replies to what the Mage throws down, that's what's going to make the difference in this matchup.
So for Phonetap, his hand, even though he has one of the strongest plays right now with Pilot to Shredder against the Warrior, he doesn't have follow-up. Like his turn 5, 6, 7, he doesn't have minions. He doesn't have the meat. He only has the finishers and the freezes and Mirror Entity. So even Cogmaster is not that great as a card in this matchup. So Alchemist looks pretty good overall with a lot of health and ways to respond to the board. The only problem for Alchemist is that he doesn't have that many cards in hand. So he will really rely on top decks coming from now.
Does have things like Whirlwind and double execute as well. So he's got plenty of removal. That Alexstrasza, that could be pretty important as well if the game goes late, to maybe heal himself back up and give himself a last ditch life gain if the Mage really runs out of steam in the late game. We do see that Doctor Boom, and that's pretty much going to be a snap decision on turn 7 for Phonetap. Actually, Whirlwind execute, that's a pretty good way to deal with Doctor Boom.
Yeah, so Alchemist has ways to deal with Dr. Boom, and here Phonetap deciding to play Mirror Entity, which is a great decision. That there can be a possible Shield Maiden or 6, so you want to copy that.
Oh.
And you've seen a lot of small minions, so
that's a perfect pickup for the Mirror Entity, though. The Armor Smith, and then can just die straight away to the Death Spike. Oh, he's not going to do it though. He's just going to pop the Shredder.
Well, Phonetap is definitely going to be disappointed by Armor Smith play. As I was saying, like, Warrior doesn't have the small minions on turn 6, 7. There is a high possibility that you're going to get a 5/5 or a Belcher from Serenity. But here it didn't work. But on the other hand, Phonetap just getting his endgame, both endgame cards, Dr. Boom and Antonidas, might dictate this game. Even though Alchemixt was in a good shape, right now he's actually at 21.
Yeah, this is a pretty good turn for Alchemixt in terms of what Phonetap has in hand. He has that Dr. Boom for turn 7, but this turn 6, I mean, he could just throw out a Fireball and maybe the Cogmaster. He does have a mech on board with that Goblin Autobarber, so you would be able to get the buff off the Cogmaster. He can kill off this Armor Smith as well.
I could do anything to do.
Yeah, I think he has to kill the Armor Smith.
Yeah.
So he's going for that. There was obviously no point to Fireball the Armor Smith, but still, you have to decide how do you kill it. Do you use the ping? Do you kill it with Armor Smith? The problem that he's facing is that there is this Death Bite. So Death Bite is going to clear Armor Smith and the mech, and you will have the mechs with Dr. Boom. Like, after playing Dr. Boom, you have the bombs which are mechs, so Cogmaster can still attack. But what is Alchemist going to do this turn? Still, not really anything that he can play as a card. So he mostly has the response cards.
But the Whirlwind next turn against, I assume what's going to be a Snapdog. Whirlwind versus plus BGH. Yeah, probably Whirlwind was plus BGH.
Oh yeah, certainly.
This could be a lot of damage coming in from those boom bots. Just one.
And 4 damage is okay. Alchemist is definitely happy with that.
Yeah.
He dealt with Boom with no problems. You are at 18 points of health. You've seen Boom already. So what are you? You're afraid of Antonidas, maybe. But then again, do you play Antonidas right now and just try to get the fire? I think you can. You just freeze the 4/2. Because if not now, then when? Do you just wait for turn 10 for Antonidas and just skip playing anything this turn?
That's such a crucial way to deal with Boom, though, because normally one of the big problems with Dr. Boom in terms of how you can trade for it and one of the big arguments about Dr. Boom being unbalanced is that if you kill the Boom bots after you BGH the Dr. Boom, it's really, really likely your BGH will die a lot of the time. But being able to Whirlwind first, you can clear the bombs and then BGH and take no damage from it. We're going to see Shield Slam execute on the Antonidas.
Into Dr. Boom.
Into Dr. Boom. Perfect mana.
Wow. Oh, and by the way, on your argument about Dr. Boom being unbalanced, one of the arguments why Dr. Boom is balanced is that it is an endgame card. So by the time that you play it on turn 7, mostly people do have the reply to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just saying that that's one of the big reasons why people argue against, well, you can just BGH it. But that's such a great way to deal with it. A lot of damage in the hand of Phonetap here. How much does he have? He has 15, which is getting pretty scary, but also he doesn't have any way to deal with... I guess you got to go with 1 Fireball and a ping on the Dr. Boom here.
Yeah, I think you have to clear Dr. Boom. Like, if you, but at this point, you definitely count the damage if you have any remote chance of just bursting your opponent. The problem is you don't have any more burst in your deck. Like, this is it. Like, well, you probably have 1 more Fireball, but the chance of top decking Fireball right now is really slim. Even if you unload, there is a chance for Alexstrasza. So you would possibly have to get your opponent to 15, and with armor up every turn, that's not possible. So clearing Dr. Boom is probably the best course of action.
Yeah, he's got to do that and get the damage off the board. Feels bad to use up one of the Fireballs when you don't have Antonidas and you don't have you don't have your own Dr. Boom anymore. And do you think we just see an Alexstrasza here?
That's a very good question. I'm not sure yet. Like, you have to really think if like, what's your position? I'm not sure if this is that Alexstrasza turn yet. I think you can still try to like develop the board and focus on countering whatever your opponent plays. Yeah, what Alchemist is doing is correct. just develop the weapon and keep the advantage and then press. You still have execute for anything big. You've dealt with Antonidas, you've dealt with Dr. Boom. There is literally nothing else big in the deck. So right now you're in a position where your opponent, you probably suspect that there is burst because your opponent's not playing cards and there's no point in not playing cards as a mage. So you expect burst, that's why you keep Alexstrasza for a possible heal. And you expect some cards that work with max and probably no max. And if you do expect that, that's a pretty accurate read.
Yeah, it's pretty safe play from Alchemixt and a pretty bad hand for Phonetap. No max, no activators for the Tinkertown, and just not enough burst to get through.
How ironic is that Mage is playing versus Warrior, and Warrior is the one having max on board, and Mage doesn't.
I'll show them all.
Because Alchemix does have the max. And the Mad Scientist is going to die here. Mirror Entity being summoned, which is pretty good for Phonetap. Not only the Mirror Entity got filtered from his deck, so it's increasing the chance of getting something better like a Yeti or Shredder. But then again, Alchemix top decking the Taskmaster here. Wow, he just gets the small dudes every time.
Yeah, that's going to really help with this Mirror Entity and not lose any tempo to that. Yeah, do you think you just go with the Taskmaster here and try and clear this 3-3?
Phonetap is probably thinking about conceding right now. It's like the most agonizing thing. Like after Taskmaster, you would think about conceding. Just sitting there with one fireball, looking at 17, yeah, Phonetap is just scratching his forehead. He's like, oh my god, should I concede now or maybe try to see a couple of more cards from this warrior?
We're going to see the Execute come down on the Tinkertown.
Alchemix just dismantling all the tools from the Mage.
Well, that's what we said at the start they needed to do to win. He needed to just take apart all the early advantages, make the Mage run out of options, and get to the point where the Mage has things like Tinkertowns and Blast Mages with no activators on board and just a completely empty board. There's really nothing that can happen here. He's just going to play the Blast Mage out by itself, and I think it's now pretty safe to see the Alexstrasza, and when that comes down, that's going to be pretty much game over.
Unless Phonetap is actually playing a single BGH.
There's Gromash as well.
Wow, Grom is great.
Yeah,
you can trade with the Blast Mage.
And armor up as well, just in case. Yeah, but that's probably going to be the concede now. Phonetap looks pretty resigned in this game.
You can still try to see one more card. And especially after getting an Neutron. Well, you can Fireball Grom. That's pretty good. And developing an Neutron. This game is not over yet. And also, like, if he manages to get his last Fireball from the deck, he will Alexstrasza if Alexstrasza gets played.
I bring
Well, there's
So he
Armor
needs to-
Smith.
Yeah, Armor Smith, top deck by Alchemist. He needs a Fireball. I guess he has a couple of more turns to get it.
This is pretty agonizing, but as you say, I think this is the smart play from Phonetap is when he's not that close to dying, and actually he could maybe see some interesting tech that Alchemixt has and just give himself a little bit more information going into his next pick. But yeah, this game is completely over.
Yeah, even if I think about Phonetap being able to top deck a Fireball and kill this Alexstrasza to, kind of like dismantle Alchemist, there is still no way he can develop the board after that and deal 21 or 23 points of damage. But there is no point in conceding. You're not dead next turn, so you still want to. Oh, okay.
He is going to go ahead and concede, I guess, not prolong the agony any longer. But so that's going to go to 1-1, and this game is now back balanced once again. Alchemist is just going to step away for a second there, refresh himself, and what does Phonetap